Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast, where we talk music, culture, sports, and things of the sort. Um, this is my first episode, so please like and subscribe to the podcast. Um, so we're just going to get into the topics today. I want to get into music, the evolution of music, and where it's headed. Um, there's been a lot of changes in music lately, such as with the streaming era, for sure. Um, when I started listening to music, I was listening to music through CDs, even cassettes in the earlier times. But now everyone heads to a streaming service, and you can just wait till midnight, get the album, and you have it ready to play at your disposal at any time, unless the DSPs or whatever take them off the streaming networks. But for the most part, you'll have them all the time digitally. You don't have to worry about a CD scratching up or cassette messing up, stuff like that. So it's definitely a lot different uh, from the earlier years, from when I was buying albums. Of course, buying albums in the early 2000s, you had to actually physically go to a store and get albums. One of my first albums I ever bought was the Carter 3 Lil Wayne album. Well, one of the newer ones. I bought like Nas Illmatic when I was younger. Well, when I was younger, but the album was already old, of course, because that album came out in the early 90s. I bought it in the 2000s when I just started to get into hip hop and music in general. I remember walking 2 miles to the store to be able to get this album. Um, just to get an album, just to pay 15, $16 or whatever it was, just to get that one album, and then walk back home to listen to the album. I couldn't even listen to the album. Um, couldn't even listen to it on the way home. I had to imagine what it would sound like. Of course, it was bootleg and stuff back then, but I was such a fan of music at the time. I wanted to support an artist and be able to keep the momentum going as far as supporting them financially, so be able to put out more albums. Today, it's a different era where you can stream and it's supposed to get some support, but with the quantity or the with streaming, it's a little bit different as far as the pricing goes, and the money on the back end that they get is very minuscule. You have to have so many streams to get a certain amount of dollars. So I'm not sure about how that works specifically, but I know compared to the old system, it's a lot different. They used to get percentages off the album, but now it's just streams. So you have that. So um, yeah, just music's in a different spot than what it is from so long ago. Just being able to, uh, just being able to wake up at midnight. I mean, it's a pro and a con, right? So you're able to have the music faster and being able to get it earlier. But are you listening to music in its totality, as far as being able to hear it on a CD, as opposed to being able to hear it off your mobile device or your mobile phone? Musically, I think just the cons of it, of course, it's the financial aspect of it, but also you have to think about uh, being able to hear music in a different way. So a lot of people say when you listen to music on a turntable or a vinyl player, it sounds a lot different than you hear it digitally. You're being able to hear like the scratch come off the record, or being able to hear like the little specks that come off. I know earlier times it used to take 5 seconds for a record to actually come on. Now you actually have the record, soon the music hits soon as the record hits 1 second. But it used to be like a 5 second delay on the music. But as far as music, where it's going, I just believe that music is in a place where it's always going to evolve, just like anything else. But for you, mostly, you just have to be able to be adaptable to the change. Um, Life is just about adaptability in the first place. So if you can adapt, you'll probably, well, it's not a problem. You'll be phased out most of the time. So just being able to adjust to the music changes, and it's 5 years from now it'll be different than it is now, and we'll be looking back like, oh, I missed the old digital way. So it might be another way that they come into to the fray as far as music, because now you can listen to music through a video game, or you can listen to music through your Bluetooth from the car. So it's so many different ways to listen to music now, which is a beautiful thing. But just as long as we don't lose the originality of the music and just the sound itself. But as far as like quality of the music, I don't think it's any different than what it was per se. Well, depending on the genre, but I'm mostly talking about hip hop. Of course, the content has changed because just people interests have changed. It's not more conscious. It used to be more conscious like 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now it's more about the club music and making music for TikTok and music for social media and other ways for these younger kids to kind of get drawn into the music. Um, when I think, in the earlier times, it was all about just the content and just having music take you to a place. I know the reason why I fell in love with hip hop is just because music took me to a place that I always felt um, that it took me somewhere I'd never been. So like listen to Biggie's Juicy or Nas Illmatic, or listen to NWA or Snoop Dogg or Ice Cube. They always made me feel like I've been to California or I've been to New York, and I could put myself in that place. Um, and they painted such a vivid picture. It made it seem like deja vu. It's like, man, I've been there before, but I'd never been there before. I grew up in Memphis, so um, we had our own music scene back then too. But um, that music, I think I felt differently because I was already there, so it didn't make me feel like I was going to a place that I'd never been in before, of course. So um, yeah, so I think music's just in a good spot. I think it's just the adaptability and just take time for people to get used to it. A lot of things, like I said, change is scary. So especially with music, and you've been dealing with it for 20 years, and all of a sudden you have to change the way you listen to it, where you listen to it, how you listen to it. It's going to affect you differently. Um, so that kind of leads me to where I think, um, a couple releases that I've been looking forward to. Uh, Sometimes I feel like in music, an artist gets to a point where they're trying to get signed and they're starving to get on, starving, and they finally get on and they have this big hit record, this first hit album, and the thirst isn't there anymore. I don't know, because of the opportunities or because of the money that they've got. Kind of like they lose the hunger for it. So it's nice to see when artists still have that hunger and still being able to put out an album every year or two and not just take 5, 6 years off. Usually it's a high quality album if they're going to wait 5 or 6 years. I mean, I guess it better be right, if you taking that long off and making people wait for an album. Um, but, I don't think artists have the same thrive, like, not thrive, the same hunger that they used to have back in the day. I guess the money was a lot lower back then, and that you didn't have many opportunities like you had in the past, where you had to do commercials and you had these endorsements, uh, business ventures. Everybody has a business now, so um, those things kind of deter people from that. So a couple um, artists that I'm looking forward to dropping albums from is, of course, Frank Ocean. It's been over 10. Well, yeah, it's been almost close to a decade since he dropped the album last, and um, I remember when he first came out and he dropped Nostalgia Ultra. Man, I had never heard anything like that before, especially in the R&B sense. It was kind of like Nas, but R&B. So it was so original and it was so different. It wasn't just a typical "I love you" R&B or "Let's get married" R&B. It was R&B with more complexity to it. So I think he's an artist that's very pivotal to hip hop and R&B. Um, just his style and the way he thinks about music and the way he approaches it is so different compared to other artists. Not saying anything wrong with the stereotypical, but it's nice to hear something different every now and then. So whenever he does drop the next album, that's an album I'm definitely looking forward to. Um, Similar to Jay Z, but Jay Z, I just I don't know. I just feel like he just needs one more album just to kind of solidify. I mean, his legacy is already set, but he just needs one more album to just one more album. Like it doesn't really even have to be classic. I don't think it just needs to be cohesive and just an album, the typical Jay Z album. I don't think he really has an album that's just that you just said, man, I really wasn't feeling anything on that album. He always give you good quality music. So yeah, another Jay Z album would be good to have. Just to put in his catalog. Um, Andre 3000 or Outkast. We can always use another album from them. I know Andre came out with the Flute album. He said he really didn't have the inspiration to kind of do another rap album because he felt like he's outgrown. I'm gonna say outgrown, but he's kind of gotten to the age now where he can't rap about the same things that he used to. But I think if you just look at the landscape of hip hop, a lot of rappers are in their 50s doing albums constantly. Now you got Common and you have, um, Most Def, and then you got most of this conscious artists. But even Jay Z is in his 50s, so there's other things you can talk about. But I think he's just in a spot now where he's just trying to find himself, and at his age now. Because I even think the subject matter that he talked about on the last Outkast album, it wouldn't. You don't have to be in your 20s or 30s to talk about the content he was talking about. It's mostly just happy music. So I think there's still room for him to make that album. It's just he just needs to just I don't know, just sit somewhere and just figure it out and just kind of like listen to other artists his age and just be able to get that inspiration. But I think, like I said, he's a realist. And as a realist, you're trying not to. I mean, sometimes you can overthink things and be like, man, I can't rap about what I used to rap about, so I don't need to make a rap album. But there's always a workaround, and I think with his creativity, he can easily find another um, avenue to go to make a rap album, or even if he wanted to just be on some R&B type stuff, he can still do that as well. So it's in the ball's in his court in that to that effect. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And then of course Kendrick Lamar. Before the Drake beef, I was a fan of Kendrick Lamar just because of the subject matter, and he's a conscious rapper. I like a lot of conscious rappers, so he's one of those ones that takes years to make an album, but it's always good quality. It's always thought provoking. It always take you to a place where it makes you think. Um, all the happy music is okay, and all the dance music is okay, but it's nice to have an artist that makes you think and makes you kind of trying to question yourself. Just think of it's like, man, I need to be. What about these group of people, or what about this topic, and how can we better ourselves or better the community? So, yeah, especially come off the momentum he had off the Drake beef, I think that album will be. I think it'll be pretty good. It just Not Like Us. I don't want to hear 16 tracks of Not Like Us, but if you can, my favorite album from him was the To Pimp a Butterfly album. Man, it's like pretty much no skips on that album, and it was very, like I said, it was very cohesive, and it was very, it's like a concept album, pretty much. It's one of those albums, kind of like Lupe's first album, where it just puts you in a different mind frame, and it was more than hip hop. It was art. So it's always nice to have an artist present art and not just music. So, and that kind of leads me to the Twisters movie, the new Twisters movie soundtrack. I've never been a huge fan of country. It's been songs here or there that I liked, but the Twisters album, I'm not even sure how I stumbled upon this album, but of course I'm a fan of tornadoes. Living in the Midwest, tornadoes are just a part of culture. I mean, it's part of life. So I've always been a fan of Twisters. I mean, I grew up in the South, but I moved to the Kansas City area about 2011. So I've kind of grown accustomed to storms and things like that, and I always had a fascination for them. But growing up here, or living here for over 10 years, it kind of puts things in perspective for storms, and you learn so much about the weather and stuff like that. But anyways, the Twister soundtrack was one that I found very. It was country, but it kind of has the feel of an R&B type album. Um, the lead single off it, "Ain't No Love in Oklahoma" with Luke Combs. That song is so connected to the movie, and I'll do the movie review after this. But um, just a song, it just captivates you to want to go watch the movie, and that's one of the bigger parts of me wanting to watch the movie. I was going to watch it anyway, but that song really encouraged me to go watch the movie, and it puts you in the mind frame of Oklahomians or people in a tornado alley that that experience this phenomenon of tornadoes every year. Just the lyrics of the song and how it related to the movie and how it related to tornadoes and the mindset of when you're being in these situations. You have a different perspective. People in other parts of the country don't experience this as much. It's more rare for people on probably the West Coast or maybe Northeast parts of the country to understand these type of things. So this album kind of puts you in the mind frame of those people who witness this every year, and it's just a normal part of life for them. Some people look at it and say, wow, why would you want to live there? But that's home, which Lainey Wilson has a song on the album as well called "Out of Oklahoma," where she says, no matter how far I go, you can't take the home out of Oklahoma because it's home for them. Tornadoes might be scary for other people, and it's scary for people that live in Tornado Alley and places that get tornadoes as well. But home is home, so you're kind of connected to home. Despite the circumstances, no matter what trauma you might have went through, no matter your circumstance, or no matter the good or the bad, you're still home is home. Your heart is always going to be connected to it, and that's kind of the premise of that song. Even in the video, she had there was sections of the video where they're related to the movie, where there was like a barn where one of the characters used to just do the research for tornadoes, and she shot the part of the video in it, and it kind of, like I said, it was one of those things that kind of encouraged me to watch the movie as well. So yeah, it's a pretty good album. Like I said, I don't like every song on the album because, like I said, I'm not a hardcore country guy, but it did make me a fan of country just a little bit more because of just the songs on the album and the way that they made me feel and the way that they connected to me. Like I said, this album had a R&B type feel to it, but like I said, country and R&B, really, when you think about it, not that much different except for maybe the accents and some of the instruments that's used. But it's all about love and the way things make you feel and being connected to yourself. So, yeah, but I really love this album. They had some upbeat songs like "Already Had It." I like that album with Tucker Wetmore. It's very upbeat, and it's just happy music. Makes you feel good. Something to wake up to get your day started. Leon Bridges, who I've heard of before, I never actually heard any of his music until now with the Chrome Cowgirl. That song was very, like I said, it was one of the most R&B type tracks on the album, and it gave you kind of the mind of like a cowboy, I would say. Uh, I don't know what it takes to be a cowboy, but that song make it feel like that's what you need to do. Chrome Cowgirl is a very good song. It's not that long, which most of the songs now are not that long. They're pretty, under 3 minutes and probably have like maybe 2 verses and a chorus to it. But that definitely was one of those songs that had that element to them that kind of connected the R&B to the country music. But if you're not a slow music type, there was some faster songs on the album. They had Jelly Roll on two of the songs. Leave the Light On, and I'm trying to think of the other song that they had on there, and Dead End Road. Dead End Road was kind of a tornado connected song. It was more upbeat, and Jelly Roll does come from a hip hop background. I think only recently he moved to country, but he's had a lot more success with the country music than he did in hip hop and rap. So kudos to him to making that switch and finding his niche. Just being able to, like I said, being diverse. He had to stay where he was, but he can always go back to it and dibble and dabble in it. So yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my first episode. Like I said, if you like the video, like it, subscribe to the videos, to my content as well. There'll be more videos, of course, longer content after this video. But yeah, thanks for watching the channel. I'll see you next time.